The Perennial Persecution of the Jewish People, a Historical Analysis. Throughout history, the Jewish people have endured a recurring cycle of persecution, hatred, and expulsion from the countries they called home. This pattern, spanning centuries and continents, is rooted in a complex interplay of religious, economic, social, and political factors. From ancient times to the present day, Jews have been targeted by various societies, often facing discrimination, violence, and forced exile. Understanding the historical context behind this enduring phenomenon provides crucial insights into the persistent persecution of the Jewish community. One of the earliest instances of organized persecution against Jews dates back to ancient Egypt. According to biblical accounts, the Israelites were enslaved by the Pharaoh and subjected to harsh labor and oppression. This early experience of persecution laid the groundwork for a collective memory of suffering and resilience within the Jewish tradition. In the centuries that followed, Jews faced persecution in various forms across different regions of the world. In medieval Europe, they were often scapegoated for societal ills, such as the Black Death, leading to widespread violence and massacres during the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition. Additionally, Jews were frequently barred from owning land or holding certain professions, relegating them to marginalized and vulnerable positions within society. Religious intolerance played a significant role in fueling anti-Jewish sentiments throughout history. The emergence of Christianity as the dominant religion in Europe further exacerbated tensions, as Jews were viewed as outsiders who rejected the teachings of the Christian faith. This theological animosity, coupled with accusations of deicide and blood libel, perpetuated the myth of Jewish malevolence and contributed to their persecution. The rise of nationalism and the modern nation-state in the 19th and 20th centuries brought new challenges for the Jewish community. In many cases, Jews were perceived as a threat to the homogeneity and cultural identity of the nation, leading to discriminatory policies and violent pogroms in Eastern Europe and Russia. The infamous Dreyfus Affair in France highlighted the persistence of anti-Semitism within ostensibly secular and enlightened societies, as a Jewish military officer was falsely accused of treason amid widespread anti-Jewish hysteria. The culmination of centuries of persecution came to a tragic climax during the Holocaust, the systematic genocide of 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime during World War II. Under the pretext of racial purity and Aryan supremacy, the Nazis implemented a meticulously orchestrated campaign of extermination, targeting Jews with unprecedented brutality and efficiency. The Holocaust stands as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked hatred and intolerance, as well as the enduring legacy of anti-Semitism. Even in the aftermath of the Holocaust and the establishment of the State of Israel, Jews continue to face persecution and discrimination in various parts of the world. Anti-Semitic rhetoric and violence persist, fueled by extremist ideologies and political unrest. From terrorist attacks on Jewish communities to the proliferation of Holocaust denial, the specter of anti-Semitism continues to haunt the Jewish people, reminding them of the fragility of their existence in an often hostile world. In conclusion, the persecution of the Jewish people throughout history cannot be attributed to any single cause but rather stems from a complex web of religious, social, economic, and political factors. From ancient Egypt to modern-day society, Jews have been targeted and marginalized, often facing violence and expulsion from the countries they called home. By understanding the historical roots of anti-Semitism, we can work towards combating prejudice and intolerance, ensuring that the promise of never again becomes a reality for future generations. The comparison between the Jewish fate, the Palestinian experience, and the Armenian plight offers insights into the complexities of historical injustices, displacement, and the struggles for recognition and justice. The Jewish people have faced centuries of persecution, discrimination, and violence culminating in the Holocaust, which resulted in the systematic genocide of 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime during World War II. This tragic event led to the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, providing a homeland for Jews who had long sought refuge from persecution and discrimination. However, the creation of Israel also sparked conflict with the indigenous Palestinian population, leading to decades of violence, displacement, and unresolved grievances. The Palestinian experience is marked by the Nakba, or catastrophe, referring to the forced expulsion of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their homes and the creation of the State of Israel. The Nakba resulted in the loss of land, livelihoods, and identity for Palestinians, many of whom became refugees in neighboring countries or displaced within historic Palestine. The ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict has since resulted in further displacement, violence, and the denial of Palestinian rights, including self-determination and statehood. Similarly, the Armenian people have endured a history of persecution and genocide, most notably during the Armenian Genocide of 1915 to 1923, in which an estimated 1.5 million Armenians were systematically killed by the Ottoman Empire. The genocide, which involved mass killings, forced deportations, and cultural erasure, resulted in the displacement of survivors and the loss of ancestral lands. Despite widespread recognition of the Armenian genocide by scholars and many nations, Turkey continues to deny the genocide and suppress efforts to seek justice and reparations. While each of these experiences is unique, there are common themes of displacement, trauma, and the struggle for recognition and justice. The Jewish people, Palestinians, and Armenians have all faced persecution, violence, and forced displacement, often at the hands of more powerful entities seeking to assert control or dominance. Additionally, all three groups have sought to preserve their cultural identity, reclaim their ancestral lands, and secure acknowledgement of historical injustices. Despite the challenges they have faced, the Jewish, Palestinian, and Armenian communities have demonstrated resilience, perseverance, and a commitment to seeking justice and remembrance. Efforts to document and commemorate historical atrocities, educate future generations, and advocate for recognition and restitution continue to shape the collective memory and consciousness of these communities. By acknowledging the shared experiences and struggles of these groups, we can work towards promoting reconciliation, understanding, and a more just and equitable world for all. What is their common denominator? The common denominator shared by the Jewish, Palestinian, and Armenian communities is a history marked by persecution, displacement, and the enduring struggle for recognition, justice, and the preservation of cultural identity. Persecution. All three groups have faced persecution at various points in their histories. The Jewish people have endured centuries of anti-Semitism, discrimination, and violence, culminating in the Holocaust. Palestinians have experienced displacement, dispossession, and denial of basic rights as a result of the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Armenians suffered genocide at the hands of the Ottoman Empire, resulting in mass killings, forced deportations, and cultural erasure. Displacement. Each group has been forcibly displaced from their ancestral lands. Jews have experienced multiple waves of expulsion and migration throughout history, culminating in the establishment of Israel and the displacement of Palestinians. Palestinians were expelled from their homes during the Nakba and continue to face displacement due to Israeli settlements and military occupation. Armenians were forcibly removed from their homeland during the Armenian Genocide and have since been dispersed around the world. Struggle for recognition and justice. All three communities have sought acknowledgement of historical injustices and the right to self-determination. Jews advocate for recognition of the Holocaust and the right to a secure homeland in Israel. Palestinians demand recognition of their right to statehood, self-determination, and the return of refugees. Armenians seek acknowledgement of the Armenian genocide and justice for the victims and survivors. Despite their distinct histories and cultural backgrounds, the Jewish, Palestinian, and Armenian communities share a common bond forged by the experience of persecution, displacement, and the quest for justice and remembrance. By recognizing these shared experiences and struggles, there is potential for greater empathy, solidarity, and collaboration in addressing historical injustices and building a more inclusive and equitable future.